for those of you who are new, my name is Heather Rodriguez. I'm a natural fertility specialist. You can find my resources at naturalfertilityinfo.com and naturalfertilityshop.com. And what I do is I come on a Periscope and I do short fertility classes on various different topics to help to keep you connected to different resources and different things that you can do to help support your fertility and to help prepare for pregnancy. We'll go ahead and get started with today's topic. It's red raspberry leaf. So red raspberry leaf is an herb. This is one of the first herbs that I actually learned about when I was in herbal school so many years ago. What was that? I think it was back in '99 when I graduated. It's been a while. But anyways, red raspberry leaf is one of the first herbs we learned about. And the reason is because of how supportive it is and how nutritive it is. So how many of you have heard of red raspberry leaf? Give me a 1 if you've heard of red raspberry leaf before. You know about this herb, you've heard about it. And give me a 2 if you are currently or have used it in the past. So you guys have definitely heard about it. There's a reason for that, right? Because it's such a popular herb. And about the same amount of you have used it. That's very awesome. You guys are in the know. You should probably be teaching this scope. And you're drinking it right now. Is that what you've been trying to say, Nasdar, and your autocorrect is like screwing you up? You're drinking it right now. Very cool. And what is better, loose leaf or tea bag? And I will cover that in just a second. That's hilarious. Okay, so this is what red raspberry leaf looks like when it's dried. And it's funny because we do get emails where people ask, they're like, is my tea moldy? No, this is what this is what red raspberry looks like when it's dried. Can you see it? I don't know if it's translating well. We're having a snowstorm, so it might not. Okay, there you go. It looks like an herby ball. I mean, it's, you know, it's just a lot of dried herbs look like this. So that's what raspberry leaf, and it looks like when it's growing in nature, you can kind of see like, it looks like that. That's a drawing. It looks like that, but it's just a 3-leaf plant that's growing with berries. It's growing with raspberries, and you're using the leaf part of this plant. And so one of the reasons that this is such a beneficial plant and it's so popular is because of the many different type of actions it has. So I'm going to get a little geeky here for a second and cover some of the various actions of red raspberry leaf. So one of the main things that red raspberry leaf does is it's an astringent herb. And what an astringent herb is, it's an herb that helps to shrink internal or external body tissues. So when something's astringent, like if you've ever used a toner, you'll notice your face get, like a facial toner, you notice your face gets really like, and kind of dry and like puckery, and that's an astringent action. That is the same type of action red raspberry leaf can have on organs. So it helps to tighten, yep, that's one, and it helps to kind of pull together and reverse moisture. So it's an astringent. How that's helpful is it's very beneficial for excessive bleeding. So if you have heavy menstrual cycles, different types of hemorrhaging where there's just blood situations, astringent herbs are going to be good for that. Yarrow is another astringent herb, but red raspberry leaf specifically. And there's a lot of cases with the reproductive system that red raspberry leaf is going to affect. And I'll get to fibroids here in just one second. You guys are so awesome. Nettle is very astringent as well. It's almost, for me, it's a little too astringent. But this is going to be more specific to the reproductive system, more so than nettles will be. So how this is going to be helpful is red raspberry leaf is going to help with hemorrhaging. It's a very useful herb for birth because of that. It's also useful for miscarriage, for postpartum healing, endometriosis, fibroids. And the tannins are also why it's astringent. So if you know that there's tannins in something, you'll know it's an astringent herb. And that's also really good for helping with diarrhea. Astringents are fantastic for that. So it's used to prepare for birth, and I'll go into more of this in a minute because you need to be kind of careful for some of you who've had recurrent miscarriages. So it's a great herb, yes. So it's an astringent herb. And then the other thing that it can do, so it's going to help to shrink and pull, be astringent for things in the body that kind of need to be pulled back, need to be reined in. So think about that. Another thing with raspberry leaf is that it's also a uterine tonic. And there's a compound, a constituent called fragarine, which is an alkaloid, and it's helping to tone the uterine muscles. So this is helpful for like uterine weakness, prolapsed uterus. It's not going to obviously totally fix that, but it's going to help to support that. And also if there's miscarriages due to uterine weakness, again, it's not going to be like the cure-all for, if you end up being the type of person who has to get a stitch in their cervix because that's why you're losing your pregnancies, because your cervix is not closed during pregnancy, this isn't going to, you need to get the stitch. It's not that strong of an acting herb. But if it's just general uterine weakness, this can help in preparation. Also, raspberry leaf tea is good for, is a parturient, which means that it helps to promote labor. So 64% of midwives, there was a study done, 64% of midwives actually use this herb in preparation for labor because it's going to help to tonify and strengthen the uterus. So this is an herb that midwives have been using for hundreds of years, herbalists have been using, women have been using, because it's strengthening to the uterus. It helps to tonify and strengthen it and prepare the body for the hard work of labor. And then the last thing is that it's an antiemetic, which means that it may help if you get morning sickness when you're pregnant. It may help with that. I personally did have severe morning sickness, and it didn't work for me, but mine was a very severe case. So this may be something to try once you're pregnant and you might have morning sickness. So this might be something to try. So now we kind of know like the medicinal properties of raspberry and why it works. And here's more of what some of the things are that you can help to support your body with when you're using red raspberry leaf. And the first is going to be recurrent miscarriages. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that because red raspberry leaf needs to be used in preparation. So this would be something that you would use before you're pregnant for this specific reason. It would be something you use before you're pregnant for at least 3 months prior to pregnancy to help to strengthen, tone, and prepare the uterus. Once you are pregnant though, you've had recurrent miscarriages. This is for the recurrent miscarriage gals. You would not use red raspberry leaf until your second trimester, because for some we have found, not everybody, it's actually a little bit kind of rare, we have found that red raspberry leaf has too strong of a tonifying effect on the uterus, and during that first trimester we want to make sure everything is still, everything is just mellow. If you've had one miscarriage, 1 out of 4 women has a miscarriage. Many of them don't know they've actually had one or that they were pregnant. So recurrent miscarriage is considered 3 or more. I consider if you've had 2 or more to be recurrent miscarriage, or something needs to be kind of addressed there. So you would use it in preparation and you would use it after your second trimester. If you've never had any issues like that, you can just use it. It's a very nutritive herb. It's generally considered very safe and mild, but that's just the one case where I would be a little bit more cautious about it. It's also really useful for heavy menstrual bleeding. So for those of you who have a cycle that's very long, very heavy, this will help to tonify and help to, the astringent actions will help to reduce the bleeding. It also has high iron levels. For light menstrual flow, this would not be the place I would go to. I would look more at Dong Quai. If you have a light menstrual flow and building up your system, building up your iron, eating a nutrient-dense diet, more fats, that would be more the focus than necessary red raspberry leaf. But red raspberry leaf is very nutritive. And thank you guys so much for the hearts. They go really great with my sweater. I am such a dork today. I lost my voice yesterday, so I wasn't actually sure if I was going to be able to scope today. I just, out of nowhere, my voice just went away. And I have my voice back, so we could talk about red raspberry leaf. But thank you guys so much for the hearts. What was I talking about? So heavy menstrual bleeding. It's also high in iron. It's very nutrient dense. That's actually one of the reasons I love it. Yes, it's got awesome tonifying effects. Yes, it's got awesome astringent effects, but it's just a really nutrient dense herb. So you can make an infusion of this, and I'll talk about that in just 1 second. And you're getting so many different minerals that are just going to be very supportive of you. And there's also, it's very high in iron. Another thing that red raspberry leaf is supportive of is egg health. So if you have poor egg health, this is something you can possibly add to your protocol so that you're getting a nutrient-dense infusion. I think it's fantastic for breastfeeding. Exactly. It can be mixed with nettles because those are both nutrient-dense. If you're looking for making a nutrient-dense blend, you could do red raspberry leaf, nettle, oat straw, and alfalfa. That would be a fantastic nutrient dense infusion, and I'll tell you about infusions in a second because they're so awesome. They're so easy to make. So poor egg health. This isn't going to be, again, your only go-to for egg health. You don't want to just depend on this, but this is something you could add as a tea that's going to be super nutritive. Where do you purchase it? You can get it at the Natural Fertility Shop. We have organic red raspberry leaf at the Natural Fertility Shop. Okay, so, and also for general preparation for pregnancy, because of the many reasons I've talked about, it's nutrient dense, it's very high in minerals, it's helping to support and prepare the uterus. So it's just a very supportive herb. So it's fantastic for preparing for pregnancy, but also towards the end of your pregnancy when you're getting ready to give birth, it's going to be useful for that. And you would use it all month long, regardless of when you're ovulating, when your cycle is. It's just something you'd use all month long. It's not going to have a strong effect on hormones and hormonal balance. So it's not, you don't have to worry about when you're taking it. And then the last is this is going to also be after you've given birth, whether you've given birth vaginally or through cesarean or whatever it is, it's going to help to support and heal the uterus. So if you've had a cesarean, it's going to help with the healing of the tissues. If you've just given birth, it's going to, with the astringent action, is going to help everything come back up into place. So this is like a women's herb. I mean, this is like, if you look at the plant, because I'd like to talk a lot about, oh, thank you so much for sharing, Tiffany. I like to talk about signature, what are they called? Plant signatures. Anyways, I can't remember the exact name right now, but it's where a plant has a message of what it's used for by looking at it. Doctrine of signatures. Doctrine of signatures. That's what I'm looking for. So when you look at a raspberry, it looks like a uterus. It looks like an ovary. I mean, I don't think I've seen any other thing look more like a uterus than a raspberry. So it's telling us what it's good for. And it's funny too, because it's like nature telling us this is what to use this for, but it's actually going to be the leaves that you use. You can use raspberries, but they're not going to be as medicinal. They're more nutrient dense, but I just think that's really cool. Anyways, I geek out on that. So it's going to help with uterine recovery. So it's kind of like every single stage of reproductive health and reproductive wellness. So there's a couple ways you can use it. You can get raspberry leaf in capsules. I actually don't use it that way. The best way I like to use red raspberry leaf, you can also get an extract, but this is one herb that I really, really like to infuse. There's a couple different reasons for that. One, most of the medicinal qualities are going to be best extracted by water. And so how you would do an infusion, I'm in my office, so I can't show you exactly how to make a tea, but you're going to take a quart glass jar or something equivalent. You're going to put a couple tablespoons of the herb in there. I like to make my infusions really strong, so I would put about 3 to 4 tablespoons. So it'd be a tablespoon per cup. That actually might be a little strong. Do 2 to 3 tablespoons. And then you're going to pour hot boiling water over the top of it. So you put the herb, just the dry herb, right into the jar, the mason jar. You pour the hot water over it, put a lid, let it sit for 10, 20 minutes. And you can do this with, add some other herbs as well if you want oat straw, whatever it is that you would like. You could do just plain raspberry leaf. That is completely great on its own. And then you let that sit for 10, 20 minutes. You strain it, and then you would drink that. And you can drink it hot or cold. It makes a really great iced tea. If you want to add some honey or some stevia to it, that'll make a really great tea that you can just drink and sip on through the day. So that's my favorite way to use it is through infusion. You can. Someone was asking about tea bags or loose herb. I personally don't really like tea bags except for when I just need like a little beverage that tastes good. When I'm trying to do something medicinal, I go for infusions every time, and it tastes kind of tastes like iced tea. I mean, it's good, and yes, you can mix this with conception's tea definitely. It tastes like, it doesn't taste gross. It's not a very strong taste. It's very mild. It tastes mildly herbaceous. I don't know really what to compare it to, but it's very mild tasting. And if you add sweetener, it actually tastes really good. So you can add hibiscus too. That's another great thing to add. So anyway, so that's how you make an infusion. You can also use a French press. That's kind of been my favorite tool lately for making herbs is you get a French press, put the herbs in it, pour the hot water in, let it sit for 10, 20 minutes, and then you use a plunger that's in part of the French press, and you can just strain it out, and it works wonder for herbal teas. So if you're into herbal teas and you're wanting to expand and start making your own teas, get a French press. I wish I learned about it so long ago. I just got one this year. So anyways, that's a great quick way to make it. I don't use tea bags very much, like I was saying, because the amount of herb in them, I feel like they're just much older, and it's just, I don't know, it's just this tiny little bit of herb. They feel like they've just been sitting on the shelf forever. I'd rather work with the loose herb, and I feel more connected to it. As an herbalist, I am obsessed with herbs, and they're my friends. I spend most of my time in the summer in the woods with my friends. There's just something to it, being connected to what you're doing. So how many cups a day? as many as you'd like. I'd say 1 to 2 cups a day if you're trying to, to get the benefits. It's going to take a period of time to get the benefits from a raspberry leaf. I prefer drinking, in the winter I prefer warm, in the summer I prefer cold. But I'm always just kind of throwing stuff together, whatever I feel like that day. So you can do whatever you like, hot or cold. It's not going to make a difference. It also is really helpful for fever. So if you happen to have a fever, you want to drink it hot for that. That's the only time I would think that there's a specific reason to drink it hot. But whatever you prefer, whatever works. Compliance, like taking something and drinking it, whatever form works for you, is more important than being super strict about, oh, it has to be hot and I have to drink 28 ounces or whatever. Like whatever makes it so that you actually do it on a regular basis. Thank you so much for joining me. It's awesome to catch up with you guys. I'm on here, for those of you who are new, I'm on here almost every day during the week, and I'm covering a wide variety of fertility topics. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for the hearts, and do something nice for yourself today.